If your company's like most companies in today's economic climate, you're looking for ways to control processes, control costs, control waste, try to improve the bottom line, maybe even find some black ink. Well, I have a few suggestions of a place you might start, and I call it the power of suggestions. Today we're going to talk about employee suggestion programs. These are often found in the form of a metal or wooden box attached to the wall, perhaps near the time clock, the water cooler, the mail bins. Usually they're a locked box, and all they do is collect dust. It's not uncommon when I'm working with a company or talking with leadership and management, and the subject of suggestion programs comes up, we hear the same thing. They simply don't work. Like I said, they just collect dust and hang on the wall. In fact, one company that I spoke with, when I asked their management how many suggestions they were getting from their box, they admitted they didn't know. So I said, well, when's the last time you checked it? They didn't know. They couldn't even find the key to open the box. Finally, I insisted that they do so, and they cut the lock off the box, and what we found they had collected was dust, a spider web, and an empty cigarette pack. So is there any way to make these suggestion boxes actually useful and to make these suggestion programs work? Yes, there is. But let's talk about some numbers and some theory behind what works and what doesn't work. And we're going to do so by comparing Japanese suggestion programs with American suggestion programs. And I'll admit right off the bat, the data and the numbers that you will see in this program today are 14 years old. If you want to go find the numbers, the current numbers, you can do so. That's no problem. You can go dig them up. But it's not important to know the latest numbers. What's important is understanding why the numbers are what they are and why Japanese and American suggestion programs differ so much in their results. First, let's look at how much information American and Japanese companies actually get from their employee suggestion programs. In Japan, employees submit an average of 18.5 suggestions per employee each year. That's about one suggestion per employee every 3 weeks. That's not bad. So how do American companies fare? American companies' employees submit suggestions at the rate of about 0.16 per year. That's one suggestion per employee every 6 years and 3 months. This is not a good sign. Let's dig a little further into the numbers. In Japan, the percentage of employees actually participating by submitting at least one suggestion per year is 74.3%. And in America, try 10.7%. There's definitely something different going on between the two. Do you think you can guess what the difference is? If you feel brave enough, write down your guess right now. We'll see how good a guesser you are soon enough. Let's look at how much money Japanese and American companies save on average per implemented suggestion. In Japan, it comes out to $175.66 per implemented suggestion. It's nothing huge, but saving money is saving money, right? What about in American companies? Check this out. How about a whopping $5,586 per implemented suggestion? That looks huge. Keeping in mind that many so-called management experts say that it's a good idea to reward an employee with around 10% of the first year's savings if you implement their suggestion, well, let's take a look at the rewards and what they really look like. In America, the average reward for an implemented suggestion is $458. That's a bit less than 10%, but hey, it's a nice little bonus for an employee, right? So if this less than 10% bonus only generates one suggestion from an employee every 6 years and 3 months, and Japanese companies are getting one every 3 weeks or so from every one of their employees, well, what do you think the bonus is for a suggestion in Japan? It has to be huge, right? Here it is. $3.88. And a lot of the time, that's not even in money. It might be a ballpoint pen or a desk calendar. Basically, we call it a token. A lot of American management folks would call it a pitiful joke. But if that's true, then why is it that Japanese employees submit almost 116 times more suggestions than their American counterparts? Well, if you guessed it was money, we now know it's not about the money. So how did they do it? Let's take a look at another set of numbers. We'll call this the adoption rate. In America, 38% of the submitted suggestions get implemented or adopted. And in Japan, try an amazing 89.7%.
Quite simply, it's obvious that a Japanese employee's suggestion is much more likely to get put to use as a suggestion from an employee in an American company. This is a very powerful number, and it has huge implications.
As you can see, in America, under our so-called continuous quality improvement or total quality programs, it looks like we're shooting for a grand slam, knock it out of the park idea. On the other hand, Japanese companies operate under the philosophy of Kaizen Tien. The word Kaizen is formed from two Japanese words, Kai meaning change and Zen meaning better. You could look at this as meaning change for the better, or you might also look at it as better methods of change. I see it as both, and the Japanese recognize the value of a couple of things. First is the difference between extrinsic versus intrinsic motivation. In the United States, we think that we can buy the ideas and thinking of our employees, which is an extrinsic motivation. While in Japan, they learned long ago that showing the employees that you value their ideas and you want their participation, which is intrinsic motivation, actually leads them to want to participate. They feel valued and they feel appreciated. And as the old saying goes, people tend to support that which they help to create. You might also find it interesting to know that in Japan, this $3.88 reward is not just given for an idea that gets adopted, but they also reward ideas that are not adopted. Now that's pretty interesting. Why would they pay someone for a bad idea that doesn't save the company any money? The Japanese also see the value in bad ideas. They see it as an opportunity for learning. If Japanese management studies an idea and sees that it won't work, well, the way they see it is they've at least learned something that won't work. Sort of like Thomas Edison saying that he proved thousands of things wouldn't work to make a light bulb before he happened to prove one thing would. Also, the Japanese look at a bad idea as a learning opportunity for the employee who submitted it. In their eyes, it could mean that there's something about how the company operates or something about the job or finances that the employee doesn't understand. So instead of tossing the idea in the nearest shredder or recycling bin and just ignoring the whole matter, they say thank you and reward the employee, and even go one step further and help the employee understand why it won't work. Pretty radical thinking, huh? You might be tempted to think that given the huge difference in the average net savings per implemented suggestion, that American companies are probably coming out about even with Japan. Well, are we? When you do all the math, here's the real kicker. In America, it all works out to suggestion programs that generate an average of $334.66 savings per employee per year. That might sound okay, but it doesn't look so good when you compare it to $3,249.71 per employee per year for Japanese companies. Now imagine we're talking about two companies, one in America, one in Japan. They both employ 1,000 people, equal size companies. A little bit of arithmetic tells you that's $334,660 savings per year for the American company and $3,249,710 per year for the same size company in Japan. Does anybody here know the Japanese word for gotcha? It's all about valuing the ideas and thoughts of your employees. If they don't think you're listening or interested, they won't speak up and everybody loses. So if you and the other leadership in your company are looking for ways to control costs, control losses, and to improve the bottom line, I suggest you start by looking at your suggestion program, how it operates, and how well it recognizes the efforts and the ideas and the contributions of the employees in your company. I'm Dan, wishing you all well, and reminding you that if you're seeking excellence, a good place to start is at the heart of excellence.